Hey guys, my name is Joni and this is Branching Business. And in this video I talk about scope of your own personal projects and your business projects. So this is a thing that I've been wondering about lately quite a lot, and I have a few words to say about the scope of your business. And so all projects and businesses have a time investment. You put your time into it, and your project or business might it might bring something valuable or not. And one thing when you're working on your projects that you need to make clear for yourself is the scope of your business. So you might want to start a business that has a global scope, or you might want to start a business that has a local scope. And in today's world, it's really hard to start a business that has a global scope, and that's because there are so many businesses that are competing against each other, and also global job market is really competitive as well. So if you've ever tried to offer your services on a global scale, you realize pretty much immediately that there are so many applicants that you might not get the best value for your time investment when you offer when you offer your services on a global scale. So in business it's the same thing. So you really need to make clear for yourself if you want to do business on a global scale or on a local scale. And it's hard to do business on a global scale without resources and without a certain skill level. So there are so many people who are very qualified and very skillful, and they are ready to work without too big of a compensation. They work for pennies. And from the perspective of putting food on the table, it's often a better option to work locally. So for example, I live in Finland, so I believe that if I were to offer my services in some sector, I would have better possibilities of sustaining myself when I'm cold approaching businesses and offering my services to them, instead of trying to offer my services on a global scale. So yeah, this is a thing that I've been really wondering, and I think it could be a better option to offer your services locally. At least first try to offer your services locally, and then see if you have enough demand. And if there's enough demand, then you can try to offer your services on a global scale. Yeah, and actually I read the book from Josh Kaufman called The Personal MBA, and in that book he suggests that all people who are interested in business should start making first viable offers as soon as possible, which means that you should start making business-related offers as fast as possible, so first you can get the feedback that you need to develop your business or your ventures, and then you also can find the minimum requirements for you getting a favorable outcome. So you look for those minimum requirements of you being successful in your venture. So yeah, I definitely recommend working on a local scope first, unless you really know what you're doing and you really have skills that people are willing to pay lots of money for. But for many of us, it's not the case that we have so developed skills that people would be willing to pay big money for our services. So I think it's a good option to offer services locally first. And locally, unless you're living in a place where there's lots of competition, but in many cases and in many places there's less competition, and that means you will have a better chance of succeeding and making successful first viable offers. So yeah, this is the thing that I've been wondering about lately, and I think it could be beneficial to get out of your comfort zone and start calling local businesses if they want your services, and really see where the demand lies, and see if you can make those first contacts with potential customers, and that way you can also increase your own skills and form new contacts for the future. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. So yeah, I think from the standpoint of time investment, and when I think about how much money you can make online versus how much you can make money locally, it's not obviously always the obvious choice to try to make money competing on a global scale. And on the internet, it usually work who are willing to offer themselves for the least compensation. So you don't want to compete in that game when there are already so many people willing to offer themselves for unbelievably low compensation. And it's actually quite unbelievable how low people can go in that regard, and people are doing tasks on the internet for cents, literally for cents, or less than a cent. So people are exchanging their time for pennies, and I don't think that's a good option. You are always better off when you try to offer your services for local businesses, and for businesses usually have something they need to get done, and you can actually offer value by offering your services to local businesses. And I don't recommend getting into that game where you offer your services on the internet for the lowest compensation, and that usually ends up you just wasting your time. And yeah, of course it depends on your location and where you live. So in poor countries it might make sense to offer services online. So in poor countries that's probably a good option, but in Finland, where I live, for example, it's not a good idea to offer services for a very low compensation. You're always better off doing something else. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you again in one of my future videos. Thanks. Bye bye.